Hey guys, it's Jenna Elfman from Fear the Walking Dead. I play Laura. No, I play Naomi. No, I play June. I play June on Fear the Walking Dead. And you're listening to the Fear the Walking Dead talk through on Talk Through Media.
Hey, I'm Lindsley Register, and I play Laura on The Walking Dead. You're listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through on Talk Through Media.
Hey, this is Ross Marquand, and you're listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through.
Awesome.
Hey, this is Mick Stahl, and you're listening to Fear the Walking Dead Talk Through.
Cool.
Episode 90 of Fear the Walking Dead Talk Through. I'm Brian.
And I'm LT.
And unfortunately, we have no Kyle this week. Kyle unfortunately had to leave tonight to head back, home to Oklahoma. His father has taken ill, and we don't know what. I don't even know if Kyle knows at this point, but his whole family's heading back to Oklahoma, and we wish Kyle and his whole family good thoughts and our prayers, and let's hope that everything turns out okay, and his dad, whatever he's going through, he pulls through. So it's just me and LT this week, and quite honestly, I'll just say that I was not preparing to host this week, so it might be a little rough around the edges. But I've how many of these have I done? 250,
something like that.
Close to that.
Well, in the immortal words of Chief Dan George, we will endeavor to persevere.
Yeah. So anyway, before we get started on this week's episodes, season 7, episode 7, titled The Portrait, and season 2, episode 9 of World Beyond, titled Death and the Dead, we have some feedback on last week's episodes. I wanted to ask you, did you guys say this last week?
I don't remember.
Okay. So Clint, you may have been identified for this twice now, but you raised your patronage, so thank you very much, and we appreciate it. And that goes to help make the monthly hosting bills and all of that. So it's appreciated. We want to remind listeners that we release the episodes of this podcast to our Patreon listeners ahead of time, and they come in a virtually unedited version of the podcast, and I may have to edit it a little bit this time around at the beginning, but hopefully not too much. But
lightly edited and seasoned for your listening enjoyment.
Yeah. Anyway, but you get the episodes early, sometimes a day. This week it might be longer because I'm having to release 2 episodes for this and the Star Trek podcast. So this podcast may be delayed a little bit. But anyway, you get the episodes released sooner to you if you are a patron. So that's one of the perks you get. So go to patreon.com/Walking Dead Talk Through, and you can get those episodes for as little as $1 a month. So, all right. So before we get started, we have some feedback on last week's episodes. Season 7, episode 6, titled Reclamation, and World Beyond season 2, episode 8, Returning Point. And so let's bring Rick and Simon.
We can talk about it. Done talking. Time to listen.
And I guess we'll start with me.
Yay.
Yeah, because I didn't really get to talk about my feelings on the episode last week. But basically, I was happy to see that Al and what's her name, Isabel, had, reunited, and she was making her own story, and I think, she just finally stopped making excuses, because I think that's largely what she was doing. And beyond that, I don't remember much about the episode. So
Okay.
that tells you a lot. I watched it a few days early, I can tell you that much. As far as I think I gave it an 8, and that was probably a little generous. I thought, the other thing, the exploding, the cannon walkers, that was an interesting effect, and I really enjoyed LT and Kyle's discussion about it. So thank you for your military knowledge, sir. We always appreciate it.
It was a lot of fun to talk about.
Yeah. Anyway, with NAM rep, I guess has that completely died now, or is it still out there? I don't know.
Based on what we heard this week, I think it's still out there.
Well, that's good, I guess. Anyway, beyond that, I can't really remember it too much. I know, of course, Morgan and Grace were in it, and I don't remember too much else. I just don't. So,
well, we did get to see another shot of the Apocalypto.
Yes,
so
that's right. Last week's World Beyond was better yet again, and I have to say yet again that this show, I just wish the hell it had been this good as it's been, I'd say, the last 5 episodes, because I spent the entire first season hating on that show, and even the first half of this season I wasn't liking too much, and the last 4 or 5 episodes have been really solid, and it's been building and the one we're going to talk about later was best Walking Dead probably we've had in a long time. And I just wish that the damn show had been this interesting all the way through, because it wasn't.
Yeah.
And I know there's one podcast in particular that doesn't agree with us on that, and thinks that that Fear's been amazing the whole 2 seasons, and that Fear has been awful. I don't feel like it's been awful. And the one that we're going to talk about in a little bit, there were some interesting parts about it, and I enjoyed this week's episode. But I don't think it's as good. So, it had its moments though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and we'll get to it when we get to it, but it's still the contention of what we saw World Beyond become this season. Why couldn't they have given us that last season?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, it was like they were trying to mix zombie apocalypse with Stand By Me.
Yeah. Or it was the CW apocalypse.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, but I was thinking about it. It's kind of like Stand By Me, but a little bit older. So,
Yeah.
it's like if the Stand By Me characters, were in a zombie apocalypse and they were, walking, whatever, and it was 5 years later. So, they're in their teens, and anyway, that was kind of like it was. But this season's been better. So anyway, enough of that. So we've got about last week's episode. Why don't you take Aaron's feedback here? And I'll just say, I thought she would be more positive on last week's episode, and for that matter, this week's episode.
As did I.
Yeah.
And I want to go ahead and say this now. After last week, yes, kids, I went to the doctor. No, it's not COVID. No, it's not pneumonia. And we're really not sure what it is. So if I'm coughing my voice, or coughing my brains out, or my voice starts to get deeper, or I start sounding like Jack Palance, you know what it is.
You know what it is.
Welcome to the winter of LT's crud. And from that, I will say, Aaron from the internet says, I enjoyed the photo for this week. I'm going to miss Al. I know she can return when they need her, but on the whole, she'll be out for a while, which is just one less thing to keep me watching the show. Not for Strand, I would skip this until I heard Alicia is back. Happy belated Turkey Day. Again, there's no proof Strand ordered the kid killed. As one of the hosts said last week, apologizes, I can't remember who exactly said it. He could have ordered them captured and then the henchman killed them because of anger at Dwight. Would Strand order someone killed? Yes. Did he do those exact people? We don't know because we didn't see it. She says, you're talking about Wes painting the dude, LT. Yes, I was. Just couldn't remember his name. Thank you for that. So far, for the time being. And she has a big laughing. This really was a good wrap-up episode. It's easily the best of the season so far, but I only rated it as okay because while there was good in here, the continued lack of use for the CRM is annoying. And again, why have them in stuff if you aren't going to develop them? They become less of a boogeyman when you do that. So by the time the movie comes out and you're like, see, they're evil writers, all we can be is bitter because we didn't see more sooner, so they lose their impact. So yeah, the lack of development there knocked this down for me, but per usual, Al's stuff was good. She always does good episodes. I'm also going to assume the cutbacks to her on film were her version of behind the mask shot because my goodness, did they love mask shots this year.
Yes, they did.
Yep. He goes, oh, we'll talk about that in a minute. LT's going to fact logic rant. Yes, I am. They were making stormtroopers look like Olympic grade snipers. All. My thing was how they did not see Al before she slid under the truck because that is a wide open space she's in, so she shouldn't have been able to hide. Also, how did they not find Morgan, who's on top, apparently given that he got the drop on Al after that? Morgan has plot armor, which you can't beat. He would have been dead long ago on this show if they factored in realism. Like there's some grace you can give, like maybe the first guy here doesn't kill him, but the second guy would have shot him. Also, he would have died long ago given his infection from whatever season that was. They all run together now because his stuff is so one note. But no, he's still here because showrunner's pet. You bought a really pretty cloth belt, LT. Ha. 100% LT is on watch list. I will neither confirm nor deny. At some point, this podcast is going to have to make Bill's the best stock stored the apocalypse shirts to sell.
I have to say, Aaron, I absolutely love this idea. we must do this.
Yeah. I think we should.
Yeah.
Al's camera cuts worked way better than the mask shots everyone else has each week. Lol to Private Schmuckatelli. LT is cooking this week. Big grin. I don't watch the kids show, but I would venture to guess they've done more on the CRM front than we have. And that's true. Al would make a great couple with Alicia, Emma. I'm just saying. Smiley. To Dieta basically saying they need a baby on board sticker for the car. Also very fair to ask where the group is after we just saw Al with Daniel, Sarah, and Luciana. Hashtag more Alicia. Yellow Submarine. Well done, Glennis. And hopefully I get the inflection right on this. The O cabin. Lol, Kyle. Al's going away party episode. Crying face. Now I'm sad again. I mean, she's alive, so there's that, but it's still one less character for me to watch the show moving forward. My other two will probably kill each other because they forget the original character. I miss Alicia. Crying face. It's all sad, Kyle, just like the series. Ha. So thank you so much.
Yes. All right. So we now move on to this week's Fear episode, season 7, episode 7, titled The Portrait, written by Nick Bernardone and directed by Heather Cappiello. The description is as follows. When Baby Mo gets sick, Morgan successfully pleads for his entry into Strand's tower. Morgan quickly learns even Strand's benevolence has its limits. Kyle did give us a rating. He said he gives it 8. It's my baby. Myself, I enjoyed this episode. I'm going to give it a 9. Baby Bjorn's gone bad. So,
well, it sounds like you and I are close to the same. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. And for the first time, I can't really think of anything really funny to say.
All right. So we got some listener ratings. I'll start. Dieta from Detroit says 8 out of 10 flying walkers flying high in the sky.
Glennis from Toronto gives it an 8 out of 10, feeling blue.
Emma from the UK gives it 9.5 out of 10.
And Aaron from the internet gives it a zzz.
Yeah, that I was very surprised about. Okay, so let's move on and get to Awesome Sauce. Awesome Sauce! Our first Awesome Sauce is from Diana from Detroit. She says, Alicia finally appears. Woohoo! About time.
Glennis Toronto says, those catapulted walker projectiles and dirty bomb exploding walkers. Just great and never-ending ammo just walking around waited to be loading up.
Aaron from the internet says, the zombie catapult. That's using resources there. But does it beg the question, was everyone just asleep on watch when it came up? Because how do you miss it being set up? Whoever was operating it should have been shot long ago. She says that I thought this was funny. Even the Awesome Sauce is now tainted on this series. Frowny face. I have to admit, Aaron, you're right on the money here. You do have to wonder. It's like, how'd they get that over there?
Maybe they disguised it as a giant rabbit.
It's for those of you who remember Ronco, it's the Ronco Pocket Trebuchet.
Well, the problem is that's a mighty big pocket there, buddy.
Yep.
That's why I'm saying, oh, well, we disguised it as a parade float.
Yeah. Anyway, well, Kyle has some awesome sauce here. He says, and I agree with him here. He says, Wendell, finally we see him and he's all right. Strand wasn't lying about it. And, I know I had said that, like, I questioned him, like, lying about it. So, and he liked that Strand let out that he turned Sarah away and he didn't know about that. Would think, watch your back, Victor. He's not too happy about that. Yeah, I was kind of surprised, actually, that Strand in the moment, like, blurted that out. That was, like, uncharacteristically not very cautious of him. I did, like, that's not something I would expect him to do. I wouldn't expect him to go, oops, Yeah,
it's a little too honest at this point.
Yeah. Then he says, Joe gave Mo some drugs to make her fall asleep. No more crying full episode baby. Yippee. Kyle.
Little bit of NyQuil does wonders.
Then he says, Alicia, Of course. So happy to see her, but doesn't look like she's been living a good life. That camp of former strippers didn't look great. Yeah, they're not exactly, pole dancing. That camp of, I wholeheartedly thought we would find Alicia in more powerful surroundings. Then he says, walkers with bombs, or dirty bombs at that. Again, I've enjoyed all the various new takes on walkers that they've been doing on this show. It's not just normal walkers walking around being all arg brains. So that's been a great part of this season for me. Yeah, I would agree.
Indeed.
There has been some interesting takes on the walkers. I'm going to let you go, LT, and
okay. Well, for starters, was kind of interesting that Strand quoted Oscar Wilde, because when he was getting his picture made, the first thing I started thinking about was the portrait of Dorian Gray, which, if you're familiar with that little take in especially in the movies, the eponymous character there retained their youth as their portrait became more dark and twisted and sinister and aged as time went by. So the notion that Strand would quote that in his little monologue was interesting for me, because the portrait, when he said, I want it to be how I see me, it's sort of showing the rabbit hole that he's going down. I think that, he is becoming consumed with himself and his power, and he is on that slope to becoming the crazed evil dictator that everybody thought he would be. I think it was interesting this episode with the poisoning, and then with his moments of weakness, you saw some of the old human, more compassionate, say, Strand come out, but then it snapped right back around to the paranoid, dictatorial, crazed madman in charge, Victor.
Yeah. It's almost like he's got a Jekyll and Hyde going on within himself, and it's this struggle, and the Mr. Hyde is winning, and but I agree, it's like there's this struggle between two personality types, this kind, compassionate guy that I think Alicia brings out of him, and this I wouldn't say, well, I would say this the one that wants power and glory, and wants to rule things, and he's like, and the one thing, the thing, what he's screwing up is that he's trying to do everything himself. Like, even when he's poisoned, he wouldn't let anyone else go and help Morgan. He had to do it himself. Like, he was the one that had to go there, and that was crazy. He literally would not trust a single person other than himself.
Yeah.
And that just like a dictator going into madness, so.
Well, and that was sort of my next point, that you start seeing him become and there's a laundry list. You can see him becoming a Stalin or a Pol Pot or a Franco, or if you want to go down the laundry list of whoever your least favorite, dictatorial governmental leader is, that he's not listening to the people that have been helping him so far. They had that whole thing with when Howard told him, you haven't taken anybody in this whole week. And he's going, I know. I can look at them and I can tell. I can see it in their eyes. And I'm going, you're talking to him on the phone there, Victor. But he's he's in a position where he can be sort of consumed by his own power, and people are backing him now because things are going well. And if you think about the show, how many communities have been centered around a very strong leader? You know, people like a Negan or a governor or an alpha. So the cautionary tale is what happens to those people when they become so strong and dictatorial. Somebody comes along and knocks them off their perch, or something bad happens to them. And this is going to be all the more painful with Victor because we know Strand. We've seen Strand since the beginning of the series.
Right.
You can say, well, look at people like Herschel or Rick, or I don't know if we want to go as far to say Georgie and, Maggie, that people have been strong leaders, but they have tend to had more of a benevolent intent. So I think what we'll see is just where this goes, and I don't think it's going to be a good place. It's really been funny for me because Strand was like, no, Morgan, you can't come in. No, Morgan, I'm going to do this to rub your nose in it. And then it's like, well, Morgan, because you have the baby, I'm going to let you in.
Mm-hmm.
And then with all the stuff he did, Morgan managed to get himself kicked out again.
Right. And
again, we'll complain about this later, but Morgan gets in and then manages to get himself out just as easily.
Mm-hmm.
For Awesome Sauce, it's about time we saw good old Siege Warfare 101. As some of the listeners have said, we have a rampant supply of very handy projectiles. Toss a few walkers into your secured compound, and so not only do you get the benefit of having walkers inside the fence, you have the normal death, disease, filth, pestilence, etc., etc.
Yeah, definitely.
And because the tower has finite resources, and they have, I would say, arguably put themselves under siege by having their big wall of walkers around, what you run into is that if you make it really, really hard for the bad guys to get into you, you also make it really, really hard for you to get out. Now we know that Strand has, and just for all the people listening, I'm doing the air quotes, the tunnels.
Yeah.
The tower has finite resources and they're cut off. And now we have people actively fighting to get in or knock the tower down. I think while this was awesome that they showed, all the cool things that are in the tower, I'm going to take a fairly strange stance and say it was awesome that it also showed the flaws that are within the tower, that they actually thought about some things like, well, where's the power actually coming from? And, what do you do if the power goes out? So it's good to know that they weren't just sort of glossing those things over. So I didn't mind the fact they had to rappel down the elevator shaft and find the walkers milling about on the power plant floor. And the last awesome sauce thing that I'm going to throw out is I entitled it in the doc, A2 Howard. I think that we are going, if I had to lay money, if I have to make my bet for who's going to be the first person to betray Strand, I believe it is going to be our dear historian. Because I think while he is being a willing yes man and a willing second in command at this point, I'm seeing in his body language and some of the things that he's doing that I think that if Strand gets too far afield, I think if Strand gets a little too crazy, I kind of have a feeling that Howard is going to cut him off.
Oh, you think he might try a coup?
I think he will. I just am kind of picking up that body language that there's a couple of times where he was getting kind of exasperated with Strand. So, could this be shades of Simon and Negan? Don't know, but I just think if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be Howard.
You may be right there. Well, as far as I'm concerned, when you mentioned insert your favorite despot, I remember I watched the content that's on AMC Plus, and there's like the stuff that plays after the episode. But one thing I didn't realize that is available, and it's available like after Sunday after it airs on the channel, they have Fear the Walking Dead episode diaries. And so we've seen these kind of things before on AMC when it plays in reruns. But what they are is like at each commercial break or where the commercials would be, there's a little segment about, what happened in the previous act.
Yep.
So there was some additional stuff, but I think it was in there, or it might have been in the after the episode, but they kind of talked about Strand and the clothes he's wearing, and how the look that they tried to give him, and it was kind of the character that they mentioned was Idi Amin, so, and he was it Uganda? Is that?
Yep.
Yeah. So he was
Idi Amin Dada, president for life.
Yeah. So, he was a dictator back in the 70s or 80s.
Yep.
And was around there for quite some time until I think he was assassinated or died or whatever. I don't know. I don't remember specifically. But but he was quite the character anyway. And I have to bring that up because Coleman Domingo, I know, some people have criticized Strand and the things that his character is doing this season, but I think that Coleman Domingo himself has been just great on the show, chewing up the scenery. You can tell he's having a lot of fun this season. So, I imagine that this episode in particular was a lot of fun for him because he was just, kind of out of control and yet, full of himself. And, he kind of did this about face with Morgan. First, he didn't want him in, and then he wanted him in. We see him turning down all these people and,
right.
So, and of course, one of them turns out to be Arno. Anyway, so I thought that he was very interesting on this episode. Particularly, I thought it was kind of funny when at the end he wanted to spend some time with the baby. And when I say funny, I mean funny in kind of you're kind of losing it.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So, and of course the portrait, wanting that portrait that's been ruined. The whole thing about the portrait I thought was fascinating. It was kind of like a whole, he says about, he's talking about Oscar Wilde and, that it's more about the artist than the person that's being drawn. And then he's like, screw this, draw what I see.
Yep.
So I think, and my heart was, I'll say about it later, but, the artist, especially, I thought that she had it pretty hard this week. But anyway, everything about that, especially the twist at the end with, him bringing up the painting and, how trash it had gotten. I thought that was just really an interesting kind of turn, at the end of the episode. Also, lastly, I guess I won't say lastly. Obviously, Alicia returning, that was way, way too late. And I hated the fact that we didn't see her until like the last act, so I mean, she was only barely in this episode, and we'll talk more about her later. But yeah, I'm glad that she was there. I guess the last thing that I will say is Grace, and I put in there. Well, I'll explain myself here. So Grace, first of all, I want to, just like for her basically negotiating Morgan's freedom, essentially, because Strand was going to toss him over the building, like he did the guy in first episode. What was his name? Will?
Yep.
So Grace, saved Morgan, saved, Baby Mo, and came there. But the question I would get is, did Grace supply the blue, that whatever that blue was? Was she the one that gave it to Morgan, or was that there? And Morgan just saw an opportunity and just, I'll poison him. I'm thinking it must have been Grace, right? She would have been the one that knew.
I don't know. That part's still kind of wobbly with me because June had it.
Oh, she did. Okay.
Because at some point and I can't remember, it's like methyl something blue,
right?
Not Prussian blue,
right?
And they said the Rangers found it and brought it back, but it wasn't going to be anything we could use. And then that's when he said, is it going to kill me? Or what effect is it going to have? And June was like, I don't know. There was a conversation in there that I recall.
Yeah, there was. But the question was, did Morgan, pick it up off of June's?
Did he bring it from the submarine? Did he find it there?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Because I mean, I'd have to go back, but I didn't see any time that I can think of where Morgan could have gotten it. So that would mean that he had to have, either gotten, either that or he picked it up somewhere.
Maybe it was on the submarine.
Well, or he picked it up somewhere and it was that somewhere that he got it on his thumb. I don't know.
Well, I figured when he was trying to do the old misdirection thing and dump it in the drink.
Yeah, that could be. One would think, but then I would think, oh, that's pretty sloppy to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, that's it for my awesome sauce. So let's move on to the weak sauce.
You're worthless and weak.
And so start off with some weak sauce. Died from Detroit says, how did the stalkers get that close to Strand's tower? They showed all the people on the roof walking around with guns, but nobody saw that ambush coming. What kind of army does he have? They couldn't pick off the stalkers one by one from the rooftop guard station? Just weak.
Glynis from Toronto says, makes me laugh when they state at various times through this episode and other episodes, oh, the radioactive reading is low enough to then conveniently take off the masks. And then I think I always notice that too. And then the last scene, why didn't they have the masks at the ready anyway? Like World War I soldiers did in case of a gas attack. So now they're going to outrun the radioactive mist. and
good point.
Oh boy, Baby Mo in this episode, reach for the earplugs. Smiley face. Yes, Glynis is on the Kyle train of baby crying. So,
well, Aaron from the internet says Strand pulling a gun on Morgan at the tower because there was no need. He had him where he wanted him. So again, it's like this, I have the biggest dick move. And again, I'm like, why? We get it. Victor has always been a showman in his moves and is cracked now, but this is tacky showmanship. I'm not sure Victor would do that in the hands of better writers. We don't even get to see a little of how Grace took out the group. Weak. Yes, we're going to talk about that.
Megan from Pennsylvania is next. She says, weak sauce for me was, well, a whole lot about this episode, but especially the whole sequence where a series of increasingly poor decisions were made that culminated in lowering a baby in a fabric baby carrier attached to a rope down an elevator shaft filled with zombies and electrical sparks. Please tell me there is a child protective services unit still active somewhere in the zombie apocalypse that can save this poor orphan baby from a cavalcade of morons.
Well, you're not wrong.
That's good, Megan. That's a good one. Yeah, I have a weak sauce about the whole Baby Mo thing in a minute. So I'm going to let you this time do Kyle's weak sauce.
Okay. So Kyle says, why did they need to bring the baby on the walkie-talkie armory mission? Doesn't Strand have like soldiers who could hold Mo at gunpoint, or at least point guns at Morgan to get him to do the mission? Morgan reveals that he was the prisoner at the end, and the blue smear on his thumb. Like, wouldn't you wash your hands or something to cover up the evidence?
Indeed. Yeah, it's like obviously he didn't go through COVID.
Well, I was going to say, or obviously he didn't go to the, Borgia poisoning school.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, as far as my weak sauce, the main thing I'll say is that Baby Mo, when dropped from the down the elevator shaft, most of the way down looked like a baby doll. Like complete with the fake looking way that the legs were posed. That's usually how a baby doll's legs are posed. It just looked very fake to me. And, it was only when the baby was like at eye height that, they actually put in the actual baby. But, there's that. And, beyond that, I have to think about it if there's anything else, but, that was the one thing beyond everything else that I kind of went, huh?
Yeah. You could have, doled out a little bit of your PE budget to have a better stunt baby.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, unless I think of something else, that's going to be it for my weak sauce. What do you have? Okay.
I'm going to have to make an executive decision on what I'm going to what and what I'm going to weak.
Okay.
Since we're weaking right now, you had already mentioned about the MRAP. We'd already made a comment about where's Grace. My thing is, yes, what about that whole side mission with the MRAP to take out the trebuchets that were threatening the tower that we didn't see any evidence of?
Right.
This thing that happened while we were watching stunt baby Mo get lowered in the backpack down the elevator shaft. And so at the very end, when we got to see the big reveal of Alicia in the, stripper A camp, does that mean we have a stripper B camp too?
Yeah.
How did we end up with two groups of strange, wandering, shaggy clothed people? So it's Alicia and Arno. Does anybody else see the irony there that both these groups have leaders with A names?
And why are they stripping the walkers exactly?
No, not that kind of. I don't know. I that's another one of those things they have not provided a satisfactory answer for. Because, okay, so I'm cool with the fact that Alicia's around and that Dwight and Sherry are running around with Alicia and not Arno, but I really hope they tie that thread up because it's going to bother me because it's making me think, oh, was Arno one of Teddy's people, and are these some of the, cult of destruction that are the other stripper people? And are they doing that just so they can have more clothes to cover themselves to keep away the radiation. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense because I don't, like she said, oh, well, they're not with me anymore or whatever. So how were they with her before? Like, that's like how,
yeah.
I mean, that's, and I can't quite call that a weak sauce, but because I really don't know enough to say weak, but it certainly feels weak.
I'm really hoping that Alicia's going to tell us why they ended up leaving the bunker.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's sort of what my inquiring mind wants to know right now. I think my other weak sauce is something that some of the listeners have also mentioned. Is like, it's almost like an old studio TV show where they flashed the applause sign. This like mask, not mask, mask, not mask. It's like we're in a dust cloud, but this is a benign dust cloud, so we can take our masks off. Or we're not in a dust cloud, but apparently there's some particulates in the air because we have to have our masks on because we have to go to raccoon cam.
It's almost like they're wearing their masks for COVID.
No. Because even if that was the case, it's even more irregular than people are wearing masks for the current pandemic. So it just be consistent. Pick one, and I guess I'll just go ahead and go with it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yes. So you explain to me how you're going to get a 30-foot high trebuchet up within chucking distance of that building, and nobody saw you. Did they wait until lunchtime? Did they wait until the guards were on a break? And
well, they did it while the guard change was going on.
Oh yeah, it's like, oh well, they were, in the bathroom.
Yeah. Quick, there's a shift change. We'll do it during the shift change. That's always the excuse.
They were waiting. They were, what was it? Princess was talking to two of them in the hall. They were distracted. But yeah, how did they get the tower up there to be within chucking distance when obviously they saw them? They were not that far away that they were invisible. And you are talking about something that, once again, let's be honest, kids, this is Texas. It's pretty flat. It's not like there are any large hills, any large divots, other buildings to hide that thing behind. And when you saw the little bino cam shot from the roof, well, gosh, you could see the whole thing. So why didn't you just take two guys? Yeah, you could take two guys with a .22 rifle with an air gun and take out the whole crew of the trebuchet, and you'd be done. Bip, bang, bow.
Yeah.
You're not going to tell me that the fact that they chucked a couple of the exploding walkers there would disrupt them enough, unless we don't have enough people that the guys that are on guard duty with the rifles on top of the building are also the guys that know how to use the fire hoses, or perhaps it's Earl the electrician that has to get the generator running again.
Right.
I don't know. I just, the fact that, alakazam, there's trebuchets, bippity bow, the trebuchets are gone because of the magic MRAP that appeared and made them go away. I just feel like we missed something. Well,
it seems like we missed a couple of things. Like we missed how did they get them there, and then how did they get the walkers there and them not hear it, right? Because that's also another thing. Because they didn't just do it once; they did it twice, and then how was that neutralized? There's so many questions there with it.
Yeah, and I still have a few questions about the explodey walkers, but I'll get in. I'm gonna pound on that in Watts. I think
this is what I've come to realize at this point is that I'm still rating the show fairly high, and a lot of it has to do with reset expectations. Like it's rating high based on what I'm expecting from the show. So I'm expecting not so much, So it gets, so I like basically, a 10 is a 7. So, so this is a 6 instead of a, like, that's almost like it is. Like, it's not a 9 out of 10. It's a weighted 9 out of 10. So
this is like your favorite professor in college who curved the grades.
yes.
Is that, well, the highest grade in the class was a 65, and you made a 52. So congratulations, you got a 9.
Yeah, well, that's like the thing. It's like, that they used to do this at my at Waterloo, where I went to school. They'd have this like super, super hard algebra, exam, and everyone would fail. And then it's like, okay, they need to change all the marks to reflect, the statistical, spread of the marks. So, if the average was a 45 and you got a 62, well, guess what? You just got a 97,
Yep.
And they move the bell curve, they use a bell curve to move the thing over. And like you just said, if they scored significantly under the average, well, they, did even worse. So anyway.
Well, that's what it is. I think that we've effectively lowered our expectations. And so when, even in the case of our lowered expectations, we get something that surprises us, we're going, hey.
Like, the trebuchet, it's like, hey, this is cool. And it was cool, but it's kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of like unintentionally funny cool, I guess. Like there's aspects of it. Like, if you don't take it too seriously, it's still enjoyable. But if you're trying to, take it seriously, then it's not so good. So
yeah.
All right. Anyway, I think that's it for our weak sauce.
Yes, sir.
So let's move on to the what sauce.
What?
Dietta's first. She says, why did Baby Mo have to be involved with the Strand and Morgan tug-of-war? Why couldn't Auntie June watch the baby while they climbed down the elevator shaft full of the dead? All that was too much and extra dumb, and Morgan constantly threatening Strand if anything happens to her. I'm going to do this and that, blah, blah, blah. The baby should not have been used like that. Can't disagree.
Nope. So Aaron from the internet says, so Random Joe in the apocalypse, Arnold, can disassemble a warhead and put it into zombies but not die, yet they say their zombies with the pieces in them will kill those in the tower just by being near. This math does not add up.
No, it doesn't.
She goes in and says, I wish there was a rage sauce for this part because bullshit, Alicia is the leader of the strippers. This is weak and what on the sauce count? As leader, that means she knew about the nuke and used it, which she wouldn't do. As much as she may hate Strand, she wouldn't bomb those who are innocent. She would just get spy on him and poison him like we see happen, or just straight up walk her way in and kill him. She is not playing games with the nuke. Let's also not forget that she just survived a blast, so why would she inflict another to taint even more resources? It's already hard out there without more radiation in the world. As leader, she would also know that the nuke zombies were hers without Morgan needing to point it out. The writer's really out there just destroying her character and using her as promotional propaganda to keep her fans watching the series, it seems, because not only with just the nuke involvement having insulted her intelligence as a character, but they also are still sidelining her next to him because it's like she needs his helper to take out Victor. No, people know. And then there's the whole just stripping walkers naked part. That does not fit Alicia or the series because this world has wallows with every last battery fuel exactly when you need it and food growing on the tower and conveniently around other locations they happen to trip into. Alicia can find some Levi's without taking them from the dead. But even still, wouldn't she want Walker blood on her given she knew from Nick and from her own experience, that's how you pass through them. It was just such a dumb move to put her with them. And I would say there's two groups. I don't think that her group is the radioactive walker people.
Right.
I think that's the other people.
Right. It almost seems like, there were two groups from the hotel, and they were the second group,
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking it is. And I wouldn't be surprised if these dirty bomb people are, disciples of Teddy.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's more of a Teddy thing.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So that's it for our listeners. Kyle has given us a couple of what sauces. He says, so now we know there are tunnels that Victor's Rangers use to get out of the tower when they go out. So is this how Morgan was let in? And if they were not clear of the undead, that is how they couldn't get out to take care of the strippers? If this is how they let people in, wouldn't Mickey have known that? Yes, Mickey. I was going to mention that earlier, actually. Where's Mickey? We see Dwight and Sherry, but we don't see Mickey. Just not understanding how they let people into their community. Yeah, we see lots of examples of Strand not letting people in, and not any examples other than Grace of him letting people in. So, next, so the unexploded atomic bomb that the strippers had could be broken up into pieces to put into walkers. And Arnold did say that the people who put them in there died doing it. Yes, he did say that. But again, is that even possible? I don't think it is. And also, radiation wouldn't stop at the warhead casings. It would be spilling all around. Yeah, I wondered that too. Wouldn't they just, whoever got in touch with them, be dealing with radiation poisoning?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So even Arno's going to get it now?
Probably.
But I assume what that means is the guy that we saw a few episodes back, when we saw Sarah, and Emil's brother, was it Josiah? That person is dead. That's what we understand.
Well, if he's not dead now, he may be soon enough.
Right.
I'll get into that in a second,
Okay.
as far as some of the logistics of that. But the problem is the $1.98 nutshell is, if they're using the booster charges for the regular explosives and they're just putting the some of the radioactives in just to make it dirty, then it's going to be as much of a hazard to the people that are handling that stuff as it is the people that are getting exposed to it. That they're making a bigger contamination field probably when they're trying to load it up as they are when they're chucking them.
Right. All right. Well, I'm going to go with my what sauce because it's basically it's the biggest what sauce that I had about the whole episode. I still don't understand it. Maybe there's a reason for it that I missed. I don't get why Morgan tried to poison Strand in the first place. Was it revenge? Was it just oh, there's some poison. I can poison him. And it was just kind of a, not premeditated, just an opportunity, here's an opportunity and I can kill Strand and get rid of her problem, I don't understand why he would poison him. It's not the way Morgan usually does things. He's more, if he's going to kill somebody, he's much more direct with it.
Cutting
poisoning
people's heads off.
Yeah, exactly. Poisoning is kind of sneaky, right? Poisoning is in a lot of ways kind of a coward's way of killing someone. So, I don't get it. was it revenge because, Strand tried to kill him in the submarine, or effectively try to kill him in the submarine? Or was it something else? That was the one part of this episode I really didn't understand.
Yeah. I mean, did he think that, oh, well, this would just be a convenient way to get rid of him nice and quietly?
Yeah.
But it's like you said, people that are poisoners are usually always poisoners.
Right.
People who are going to kill somebody, like kill them, are usually going to be, and I'll just have to put the hat on that in my experience, and according to most of the time when you find out about, homicides, women are typically poisoners.
Right. Right.
That you see a lot of times with cases like that. There was one that's always big around here was Blanche Taylor Moore, and Blanche was a poisoner. And I think she killed I think she killed 2 husbands and tried the third, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the difference between when, if somebody, it's like when you try to commit suicide, women usually take pills, men usually shoot themselves.
Yeah. Right.
And part of the thing is, if you get a woman that shoots herself, she does it in the chest because she doesn't want to mess her face up. Guys don't care.
Right.
I'm just saying that it would be strange it was sort of out of character for Morgan to be a poisoner.
Right. Right.
Because if it would have been more in character, he had plenty of opportunities when he could have, like Strand said, dropped him down the elevator shaft.
Right.
Shanked him in the back of the coconut somewhere. I mean, and like I had kind of said earlier, it's Morgan and Strand angry. Morgan and Strand are okay. Morgan and Strand sort of have that little come together moment. Strand sees blue crap on Morgan's thumb. Morgan says, "Yes, I did try to poison you." It just was a little too hyperactive,
a little too borderline personality disorder.
Mm-hmm.
Except borderline personality disorder duo.
Yeah.
And for anyone who, maybe I'll reword that. It's a little just extreme personalities. Anyway, that's what I think about it. It's just crazy. Yeah. It's just it's like first they're friends, then they're not, then they're friends, and they're not.
No.
And I didn't understand why Strand would go there and try to kill him. Like, was it just he had an opportunity and he killed him or tried to kill him, or was he going there specifically to kill him? Like, was he the one that, did they infect Moe's ears so that he had an ear infection?
Oh,
I know that's what I was thinking.
You really are going to call down zombie CPS on me.
Well, it's a question that has to be asked. I don't know if
I don't know how you can make a kid's ears infected. I know that mine just sort of happened.
Yeah. Well, you put some Walker guts in their ears.
No, I think if anything, if you're going to go down that road, I think it was a seized opportunity. That just so happened that little Moe's ears got infected, and somehow he thought it was a bright idea to try to poison Strand once he got in there.
But that's the thing. I don't understand what does Morgan, and for that matter, the rest of them, what is gained by him poisoning Strand?
Hopefully whoever replaces him will be nicer.
Like, is it ultimately that Morgan wants the tower too? It's not just the ones that were, sending the dirty walkers in, but also I don't know. Was it Morgan that wants the tower too?
Or maybe Morgan is just still pissed off at Strand for all the stuff that Strand did.
He's like, oh, I'm going to take over and I'm going to be the leader of you and I'm just going to run this place better.
Well, remember when they were still at that one scene at, well, you could say when Strand rode off from Morgan at Damtown, then you're going, well, Morgan did try to kill him on the submarine. So maybe Morgan's still a little cheesed at Strand for that whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Then we're back in our usual groove for all things fear. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. It just is.
I think that's slowly becoming my my phrase. It makes no sense.
It makes no sense, but yet it is.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I don't understand what would motivate Morgan to kill Strand based on everything else. Like, I don't see, like, yes, they don't have a very good relationship right now, but I don't see Strand going out there and trying to kill Morgan. Now, there was the thing that Aaron mentioned about there being no evidence that Strand, told him to kill that family and the baby. And
right.
I don't know who said that. I know it wasn't me because I didn't think he would have done that. I think it was probably just that a-hole just not caring and or taking his Strand's words too literally, because I just don't think that's within Strand to kill a child,
And see, I don't know.
But he's getting there,
and that's the thing. I think he is getting
there. Yeah.
Well, just my last thing before we move on is just like I hit on before. If that is one warhead out of the MERV, then it's going to have explosives inside of it. It's going to have probably a certain amount of plutonium inside of it and maybe some other radioactive elements. If the casing is busted open, it's already leaking radiation. You can't really handle or disassemble the plutonium bits without it, poisoning the ground and killing the people that are around it. You could probably get the explosives out, but you're still talking about a big nasty mess that's going to contaminate everything around it. So even if they just crack that thing open, it's going to screw things up. So if there wasn't radiation at the tower before, there is now, because it didn't appear to me that they were doing their walker prep that far away from the tower. So yeah,
Right.
that whole area is going to be, strewn with plutonium fragments and hot. And so they probably contaminated up all of the clean space around the tower, just doing what they did.
And, that's what seems like the idea that it's disciples of Teddy makes the most sense, because if they're disciples of Teddy, they don't care that they're dying, right? Because that was the whole intention. So, that's got to be what.
Yeah. And I think that what I'm hoping, and again, since I haven't ponied up to get AMC Plus so that I could actually see the next week's episode now, I'm going to assume, just based on what I saw in the preview, that we're going to find out why there are two groups of people wandering around, the Alicia group and the Arnold group. I'm going to assume that that's what we're going to find out. It would make sense. It would make me very happy if they would explain what's going on, because I think then some of these questions that we're having will be answered.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that's also apropos for where we are at in the sauce progression, because that's a what.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big what.
Yep. All right. So let's move on to our sad / sauce. Aww. Okay. So we have Aaron from the internet. She says, Victor turning away Mo. Morgan and I do not agree on a lot, but in this one rare moment, I agree with him, saying Mo has nothing to do with them, so Victor could help her. I get they're trying to make him the bad guy for the season, which will most likely end with his death for sure now, because how do you come back from that? But it feels like taking it to the extreme, and I'm not crazy over that. I mean, it does. Like, in a lot of ways, it seems like, he's been turned into this show's Negan. The similarities there are very palpable, I guess. But, I don't know. He may end up dying in the end. He may end up, redeeming himself. I mean, who knows for sure.
It's going to have to be a big redemption arc if he does.
Sure is. But, it's possible. It has happened before.
Yep.
Then she has an sauce. Strand calling for his daughter, Alicia, as he thinks he's dying. Now, I think that is Aaron. Do we know that Strand thinks of Alicia as his daughter?
I don't know.
I mean,
I didn't. I never saw that.
Yeah, I never did either. But I mean, certainly he does have a special bond with her. So I guess on that end, I could see it.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I guess. So you have some sad sauces written. I may come up with one on the fly here, so I'll let you go first.
I do. For my sad and all sauce, I had just like a bad child custody fight, watching the whole thing with Grace and Morgan and Strand and little Mo. Whenever that one part was Strand holding Mo going, well, you need to get to know your new daddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm going, oh boy, because you might have got rid of Morgan, but you're going to have Grace.
Yeah.
And I don't think Grace is going to be too happy with you trying to be the baby's new daddy.
I would agree with that.
Because that would end up being another very Negan-esque kind of thing to do. My other sad all for this one was whenever Strand blurted out that Sarah had been there and Sarah was alive, and Wendell was like, what? You say what?
Yeah.
And I'm like, ooh, that was probably not the best thing you could have done, because you could tell that he was happy, but you could also tell that he was not happy.
Right. Yeah. He's happy that she's alive, but he's not happy that
Strand turned him away and didn't let him see her.
Yeah.
Yeah. That kind of got to me. And so that is my sad and all sauce for this week.
Well, I agree with you on both counts. I guess I could give a sad sauce about Alicia and say that I'm sad that things haven't been going so well for her.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's not totally unexpected, but I am sad to see. I'm curious to know who all these people are. Are they part of Teddy's? Like, were they people that were at the hotel before? Are they people that are, Teddy's people that weren't brainwashed enough and finally like they came out of it? Or was it, something else?
We have some choices.
Right.
Now, if you believe what Will said, maybe these are some, are these the senator's entourage, wherever people were that they ended up there?
Yeah.
As you said, are these the disaffected Teddyites that have seen the light of day now that things have gone really, really bad? Are these just surviving randos that wandered up and managed to hook up with Alicia? Are these all the people that Strand turned away?
Yeah.
Are these the faceless denizens of Damtown? Was it Paradise Falls and Lawton?
Right.
That wandered away once Jenny died.
Could be any and all the above.
Yeah. We have lots of choices of rando people that they could be.
Mm-hmm.
They just haven't told us.
They haven't told us.
They could be CRM escapees. Who knows?
All right, that's it for our sad and awe sauce. So now we're going to go to our feedback section.
We can talk about it. Done talking. Time to listen.
All right, so we do have one voicemail this week, and it's not from Renee, and it's not from Dieta. It's actually from Emma from the UK. So let's play that.
Hi guys, it's Emma from the UK here. Just wanted to leave you a message. I know you like your voicemails and messages. I just wanted to leave my feedback for Fear the Walking Dead episode 7. That's The Portrait. For me, it was a 9.5 out of 10. Really liked this episode. My awesome sauce would be Victor's phrase, any Tom, Dick and Arno. Thought that was quite funny. Really liked the stalkers propelling the walkers through the windows. That was cool. It was good to see Wendell again. And I think the revelation that Morgan tried to kill Victor was pretty awesome. Obviously, seeing Alicia again at the end was fantastic. Did not expect that. And also awesome were the dirty bomb walkers right at the end. I thought that was really cool as well. My weak sauce would be Victor's acting. Coleman Domingo's acting when he fell in on the roof just seemed a little bit off to me. Other than that, struggling to find anything else particularly weak. But my what sauce would be how did Morgan know that the poison was in there? Or if he didn't get it in there, where did he get it? And little unsure, was Mo actually sick, or was June somehow working with Morgan and pretending she was sick? I wasn't quite sure what was going on there. My R source would be June and Morgan reuniting. That was a really nice moment. And for a moment, I thought it was going to be quite nice that Victor wanted to work with Morgan to find Alicia, but that soon turned the other way. Oh yeah, one other what sauce right at the end, or close to the end, was Victor deciding to sort of take Mo and try and become her father. I don't like that at all. So, but on the whole, a really great episode, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of Alicia and seeing what happens next. Okay, keep up the good work. Take care, everyone. Thanks. Bye.
Well, thank you so much, Emma. Good to hear from you. And
it really is.
It really is. So, yeah. And is Emma, she the one that just caught up?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. So you have to forgive me because, I've been kind of playing on two teams right now. So, and I got all sorts of stuff going on the personal side. So it's hard to keep up. Anyway,
and I'm officially blaming the cold mess.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good question about Morgan and the poison, and we were talking earlier about, well, was Mo really sick, or did they make him sick? And that's a question that I would want answered. But the whole thing, like I said earlier, I don't understand what the reason for it is. You know? And I also agree about maybe Strand on the roof. I mean, it didn't. He was really good in the episode, but that was probably his weakest scene. So I agree with you.
Yeah.
All right. So we got some feedback from Dieta. Why don't you read that?
Okay. Dieta says, this episode was better than the previous ones in my opinion. So Morgan poisoned Strand but got caught. Calling bull on that. All that blue dye on his hand, but yet none showed up on baby Mo after all that back and forth. Take him to the roof, yells Strand, but of course a deal is made with Grace and Morgan is spared and left to fend for himself in the semi-radioactive world. Mask on, mask off. Chin scratch, chin scratch. Question, where's the rest of the gang? Wes, Daniel, Luciana, Charlie. Are they still at the submarine? Or are they at the armory? And when did they get an armory? Glad to see Alicia finally arrive on the scene as the new leader with Daryl and Sherry. But where is Mickey? Looks like they are going to be redeeming Strand by having him ask Morgan for help to defeat the stalkers from taking down his almighty tower because they will be back to attack again. Strand's obsession with having Alicia's approval is getting creepy. What is he trying to prove? Anyway, overall decent episode.
All right. And then we get, then have some feedback from Erin from the internet. She says, Morgan, don't act like you care about Alicia now. You haven't cared about her ever. If you care, stop taking her screen time. Ugh, they're really going overboard with this evil Strand plot. We get it, writers. He's your Negan for the series now. They really have written themselves into a corner using Baby Mo because he can't come back from this move with anyone. Then again, maybe that was their plan. Again, I say I don't care how much he messes with Morgan. Alicia only better kill Strand because if Morgan does it, that's just going to be more bad blood for me with the series because again, they would act like Morgan is all that and for me, he's super not. I'm fine with Strand being killed for his traitorous ways, but only by Alicia because a high-level original like her should be the only one who takes him out, not some newbie like Morgan for this series who's trying to take over. They are really going to keep Alicia around if they kill Strand this season because she'll be the last OG really left given they're erasing Daniel mentally with that dumb memory plot and Ruben is more a guest post season 1. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Than anything. Like more like a recurring character, even though he gets main cast. He's more like recurring. I mean, so many of the actors that are on main cast would be recurring pretty much on any other show right now. And the show was about the Clark family. Plus, she's one of the only characters everyone can enjoy, and she's got intrigue to her. And so, yeah, they need her for sure if they kill off someone as conniving as Victor. Next week, we finally see what Alicia has been up to. It seems, and I wish I could be excited about that, but now I'm just scared. They're going to assassinate her character more, and I don't want to see that. Yeah, I know where you're coming from, and it really is getting hard to figure out where the heck they're going with the show. So, I wish it was easy to figure out what was going on.
I think whatever I've figured out, I kind of want it to be wrong, so I'm not speculating.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Aaron. We've got more feedback from Glynis from Toronto. Glynis says, I thought for a minute there that the artist that painted Strand's portrait was going to be hoofed over the side of the building. Who knew the Walkers were budding artists to capture and depict Strand's soul so well?
I'll just interrupt you for a second. That's what I thought was going to happen. I thought he was going to throw her over the.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And, she actually, you know what? I was going to give a sad sauce to her that I forgot, because I felt very badly for her. And, because, she rightly so looked at him like, what's wrong? I mean, it was a perfectly good, well done painting, I thought.
Yeah.
So why did he do that? Because he's megalomaniacal, whatever.
Well, I think that he wanted, like I said, he wanted to see something. I think he's trying to convince himself that he's the good guy.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And when he sees his portrait of him wearing his little hat, holding his sword, he sees, maybe the reflection of him being the little tin-plated dictator is not sitting well with him as much as he enjoys it.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I think he enjoys it until he looks in the mirror, and maybe that's what it was. He sees the portrait of him and he sees, well, geez, this is how I look.
Mm-hmm. Told you, it's Dorian Gray, baby, all the way.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Glynis goes back and says, why would Morgan risk trying to poison and kill Strand when Baby Mo is with him? Strand is unhinged as it is. Now he'll try to take Baby Mo away from Grace and Morgan. Pity that Morgan tried to kill Strand, as Strand was just starting to mellow and show some compassion towards Morgan and have sort of a truce forming. Now Strand's going to be even more paranoid and impulsive on how he dishes out his punishments on people. Strand's trust is shattered and there's no going back. Any good in Strand is now well and truly gone or deeply suppressed. Lonely at the top with suspecting everyone around him. Okay, so that group isn't the strippers, it's the stalkers. But did they really shadow people? They just seem to upfront attack and pillage. Yes, June doesn't want to be reminded of the same medical agreements she had with Virginia now that she has Strand, in waving away Morgan's correct observations. Both June and Wendell should realize that Strand is no longer good. Not allowing Sarah entrance into the tower is just mean, and now purposefully separating Morgan and Grace, this Strand dictatorship is so cruel. At least Grace will be there to try and keep Baby Mo away from Strand. Damn, this group can't stay together for very long. The writer's parted formula is activated. She goes on to say, at last, Alicia makes an appearance and revealed as the head honcho of the stalkers, although she made the point that the group at the tower weren't acting on her orders. I pushed the rating from 7 out of 10 to 8 out of 10 just for that Alicia appearance. And she finishes up by saying, hope we'll see the whole gang in the next episode. Luciana, Daniel, Charlie, and Wes have been on a nuke sub holiday so far. True enough, Glynis, they're hanging out in the submarine, looking for cool submarine t-shirts, and I guess seeing what's in those big cans under the floor.
Yep. All right. Well, now we get to the kids show, as Kyle calls it.
Yay!
And I have to say that the kids show is growing up.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. LT and I were talking prior to the episode starting, and we just wish that the show had been this way last season, and for that matter, the first 5 episodes this season. If they had, although it was getting better,
It was getting better.
Yeah. But if it had been anywhere like this last season, I mean, I nearly gave up on the show, and it would have been a situation where if it came on when Fear wasn't on, I probably wouldn't have watched it, but the fact that it was on at the same time and, whatever, it's like, okay, but, I just,
I'm already here. I'm already got the TV on.
Yeah. But, I just really didn't like this show at all. And, it's gotten good. I have to admit, it's gotten really good. And I think this episode was probably one of the best episodes we've gotten in the Walking Dead universe in some time,
in quite some time.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, this is the part that pains me so.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what, and for you, dear listeners, this is what Brian and I were going into so hard, is that if they're capable of doing what they did this season with World Beyond, why didn't they do it last season?
Yeah.
If you look at the quality of the shows and the types of things that they were going into, we were complaining about it before, saying we're going to run out of real estate before they tie any of these ends up. And you look at the last few episodes of World Beyond, and it's been pretty well put together and, good episodes. And I'm going, where were you when we were dropping bowling balls out of trees? Yeah.
I have a theory, and my theory is pretty simple. I think that, the whole series has gotten better, and it would have been better last season if the role that Julia Ormond is playing was instead played by Pollyanna McIntosh. So instead, if Warrant Officer Stokes was Lieutenant Colonel Stokes, and she was the one that was calling the shots, I think this show would have been so much better. Because since she has been on, she has just taken this this show up several notches. She's been hitting it out of the park.
Yeah, and we were complaining about, in a way, the whole Mo haircut Jadis, but
yeah,
she's kind of what I want in a sinister figure at this point, is that, she's had her friendly-ish moments, but yet she's still as cold and conniving and cruel, and you can tell that she's not just doing this blindly, that she's thinking, and it's deliberate. And even though I know, what was it the way Kyle said it last week? It's like, I'm sick of her face. I can't.
Well, I believe I've said that before.
Yeah, I can't.
I said that before, but now I'm not saying that again.
Well, yeah. I mean, she's and we'll get into it when we get into it.
The thing is, like when she was the leader of the trash people, she was just really annoying.
Yeah,
and when she went up against Gabriel, and turned things around and all that stuff, she just Jadis, and when she came on this show, I said, it was me. I said I hate your face. Well, now I have to say, it's like, where you been all this time? Because she's just, like I say, she's taken the show. The plot was ratcheting up, but I think having her here, it's just everything's gotten tighter, and there's been a whole one thing I will say. I mean, since we don't really have any kind of set stuff about it, I'll just say this before we mention the usual stuff we say about the episode, but there's this weird thing they have with ranks in the on the CRM. There's Major General, and then who seems to be the next in command is the Lieutenant Colonel, and then you have she's what, Chief Warrant Officer. Yeah. So it's what aren't there? Where's all the other people? And doesn't that make her a non-commissioned officer or something? Or
no, it's
or a specialist.
In the American service, warrant officer is different, because you're not really you're kind of neither fish nor fowl. You're you're not a commissioned officer, but
Okay.
you're not an NCO. You're not an enlisted person either.
Okay.
And it was kind of like I was trying to explain before. A lot of the warrant officers that I know have been a specialist position. Is I know that I think there are some MPs that are warrant officers. I think that there are some jobs within the maintenance community and the logistics community that are warrant officers. I know that there were helicopter pilots that were warrant officers.
Mm-hmm. Well, my point being is that there's a lot of weirdness when it comes to how they've given ranks in this.
Yeah.
That I don't really understand, and I just was going to bring it up there, but
yeah, it's not consistent.
No, it's not consistent at all. So, all right. So, World Beyond Season 2, Episode 9, titled Death and the Dead, is written by Aaron Martin and Sam Reynolds and directed by Lauren Iaconelli. And the description from Google.com says, as the plan continues to unfold, tensions between the group and the CRM come to a dramatic head. While some rush to save an ally, difficult truths are brought to light. All right. So I was already getting into it there. You've got good comments, and then I've got a dumb one. So I'm going to let you start with it. So why don't you start with your comments?
Well, and they're kind of out of sequence, so I just am going to have to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that yes? Last week, after we said our fond farewell to Dr. Sandwich, we get to say another fond farewell to her again as Walker Dr. Sandwich.
As ice cream sandwich.
Yes. Because obviously she gets the slushy treatment.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say, this is kind of like where I wanted my Walking Dead referee to throw a flag on the play, because obviously when walkers are frozen, you can't really just stab them in the head to make them quit doing. And I'm going, wait a minute now.
Yeah. I mean, we have seen frozen walkers. So it was the one episode, of course, that was snow and.
Oh, you mean the famous Brian Malash dishes on snow in Georgia episode?
Yes.
Yes, I remember that quite well, sir.
Oh boy, man, I hate that episode.
Yeah, but it was the zombies in the snowbank, but they still stabbed him in the head and they went plop right over.
Right.
So unless the CRM's research facility has a really good wall freezer, then I wanted to say, the continuity police will be calling you later, young lady.
Well, either that, or you could say that the thing is that the
maybe it's the
you don't get
the serum
in Georgia. I was going to say they get more frozen
in Georgia. It doesn't get that cold,
right? That was what I was trying to get out. Is that in the meat locker they really freeze over, whereas in Georgia they don't freeze over enough to like if they were in Minnesota or Upper Michigan or something like that.
That's true.
They would really freeze. But down in actually, no, I must correct. It's not Georgia. It's Virginia.
It's Virginia.
Yes. It's shot in Georgia. It's Virginia.
Correct.
But, nevertheless, it still doesn't get as cold. So,
and doesn't stay as cold as long.
Right.
And the subtext of that is, that's why I live here.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of my next points that I have to bring up is, once again, we have flat tires on a vehicle when we're trying to escape.
One of the best tropes ever.
Well, we saw that they were driving. I can't remember the acronym because those came out after I got out of service, but it's the medium high mobility tactical transport trucks. a guy I used to work with owns. The problem is the little things they showed that they were running over, the little caltrops that were made out of, look like 16 penny nails. I hate to break it to you, but if you run over something solid like that, your tire's not going to immediately go flat. It's going to go flat over time.
Yeah.
And so for him to be standing there going, oh, we got a flat tire, and he picks one up and he's holding it. Let's take a quick trip on the way back, just a scant few months ago when I said, if the nuke's about to drop, you drive it on the rims. If things are going bad, you drive it till you can't drive no more. At this point, I would say, well, Leo, you've pissed the CRM off, and you've got the bulk of their military in their super secret research facility that's coming to kill you. So at this point, stopping to change a tire when it's not entirely necessary is probably not a good idea.
Yep.
And to use a phrase that a friend of mine uses when he's playing GTA 5, drive it like you stole it, baby. You need to go. But once again, we have our, the tire's flat trope, so the truck won't drive. I kind of have a little sad thing here. And again, you'll have to forgive me. I will take another excuse that in my fairly medicated state, I did not see it. But is Dennis dead?
That is a good question.
Because we know Huck's awful tore up, and she's by herself,
and she was crying.
And she was crying. But we know that Silas and Corduroy were breaking into wherever they were breaking in when they were bluffing Silas's buddy to steal medical supplies for Dennis.
Mm-hmm.
Before or after they were driving down the road, throwing firecrackers out the window to draw the walkers behind them. So is Dennis alive? Is Dennis dead? Is this Schrodinger's Dennis?
Yeah, that is a question that I wondered myself. And, well, I guess we will find out.
Yes, we will. So back to Huck. I know that I have gone through the cycle with her. Initially I liked her character. Then I really didn't like her character when we found out who she really was. Then I started liking her character again. I still like her character, and I just am going, there's going to be some kind of big thing because we know that the lieutenant colonel is going to be back for the final episode. But I'm like, my poor girl Huck just can't catch a break. Gave her all for the mission, cut her face, broke her arm, went undercover, got to be buddies with all these people, came back, just couldn't be a treacherous cutthroat again. Now she's in the crap with her mom. Dennis got shot. And what did she find? What did she find, Brian?
She found the gas.
20 damn Connex boxes that just mysteriously appeared overnight behind a seemingly occupied set of buildings. I want to know, how did they hire the same guys that moved the trebuchet in the episode of Fear? How did you move all of those Connex boxes full of gas from the underground lair out to this holding facility?
Do not know.
And we're talking what? That was like 3 high?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That might, and I want to say maybe 369, 18 to 24 Connex boxes. That's like, what, 24 trips if you only have one trailer?
Mm-hmm.
Got to be a tractor trailer, or there is a military truck that will drag Connex boxes, and it's based on a HEMA. I know it's got 6 axles in the back, but it's the palletized cargo containment loading system. It's got a cool acronym. Anyway, nobody saw all the trucks. Once again, it's just like, somebody's got to tell me how the boxes got there.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, then again, obviously it's not for lack of being guarded, because we know that there's never any guards in our super secret underground facility. And I guess the last thing that I really, really, really got worked up about is okay, Percy's dead. That was possibly the worst ever primary character death they've had in the series.
Yeah.
And I think, and this is my theory based solely upon myself, I don't think that was really the actor. I think that was a body double or a stunt man or whatever else. It was because if it was the guy, Brian, why did not they show his face? Why didn't you see his face? No, It was just a dark-haired kid face down in the grass.
Yeah.
So I think it was his stunt man. I think something happened. You know, they shot this scene while he was in the bathroom. They shot this scene after he had gone home for spring break. I don't care. Whatever it is, that was the worst death ever because it's like you see him running. There's the pow. He goes down, face down. You know, Iris has that whole big scene with this face down body. And you're going to tell me the way they've been making googly eyes at each other for the last, I don't know, however many previous episodes since he came back, since they got wherever they were going and he showed up, that you're going to tell me she's just going to boo-hoo on the back of his head with him face down in the grass. Tell me, that was not him.
Not the actor.
Not the actor. Yes, it's the character for sure, but it's not the actor.
Now, why do you think that is, though?
Well, and I know I made the smart aleck answer for it.
Do you think it was like a rewrite?
I think it could have been a rewrite. It could have been. I don't want to blame it on on the Rona, but it could have been that for whatever reason the actor wasn't available, or they did a reshoot. They realized that they had to do a reshoot after he was already on the plane back to wherever he lives. I'm just saying, man, if somebody from the crew could say, yeah, that was really him, I would still go back to, Miss Yaconelli there and say, why didn't we see his face?
Yeah.
Or is there, because if they pull some big, hand wavy woo woo that it wasn't him, I'm going to be kind of pissed. I'm going to be kind of pissed because like I said, I just think it's and okay, I got to throw that out there. I didn't go to art school. I have no credentials as a director. The biggest audiovisual thing I ever produced was the 1985 Davidson County Quiz Bowl at Davidson County Community College. But I just want to say that I think it was a poor tactical decision if that was really him. Now, if it turns out that was, Pete Stuntman, his body double, then groovy. If all we're going to get is the back of his head with him face planted in the grass, dig it. I am totally cool with that. But still, for a character that's supposed to be a main character, I think that was the worst death scene ever.
It was. I don't know if I would say it in the same way that you say it, but it was kind of like, he just hits the ground and, later on you find him and he's dead. It was so kind of trying to think. There's a couple of deaths that are very similar to this, where it was like it almost happened off camera.
Yeah. Well, okay. If it had been one of those things where let's make another directorial choice. If it had been the classic, he's standing on the cliff and somebody shoots him with a rifle, pow, and you see him go, and fall over into the water. And then the scene is him floating face down in the creek. You still would have seen his face when he got shot, when he disappeared out of camera.
Right.
This was, he was running away from you. You didn't see his face. The shot went off and you see him take a face plant. Just saying, if you don't see their face at some point, people like me are going to ask questions.
Yeah. Well, it's worth asking the questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what I wanted to start with was, how'd they get the Nintendo Switches?
It's a good question.
Of course they weren't Nintendo Switches, but that's what I immediately thought of. Like, I thought Nintendo Switch or Game Boy or something.
They reminded me of sort of like a cross between an old router that I used to have and some knockoff game system.
Yeah.
That, the kind you used to buy that would be prepackaged. It says comes with 200 games, and it had kind of the crappy liquid crystal display.
Yeah.
It's kind of what it made me think.
Yeah. They still have those.
But I'll still go with your theory of the Switch, which, maybe they got them at the Black Friday sale
Yeah. Yeah. At Circuit City.
At Circuit City, which would be oddly appropriate for this when it was supposed to have happened.
Yep. Anyway, and of course, for anyone that doesn't get my joke, Nintendo Switches came out several years after the apocalypse. So,
and Circuit City's been out of business for about 6-7 years now.
Well, longer. It's been longer.
Has it?
Yeah.
God, I'm old, so sorry.
Yeah. I should ask the question. I will ask, hey, Google, when did Circuit City go out of business?
Here's a summary from the website richmondfed.org. In November 2008, the 59-year-old company filed for bankruptcy. It closed its stores and liquidated more than $1 billion worth of merchandise, and on March 8, 2009, the last Circuit City store turned off its lights for good. I found an answer to another question on that topic. Does Circuit City still have stores? Do you want to hear it?
No.
All right.
That's always something that I'm tempted to do.
So yeah, because when did the zombie apocalypse really start?
Approximately October 2010 is.
Well, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
So the apocalypse came after Circuit City.
Maybe Circuit City started the apocalypse.
That's a thought.
Yeah. This episode was really good. Really tight, like you'd said before. If they could have written this well, why didn't they write this well all the way around? I like the standoff, and of course there was the element of Jadis, telling the heroes about their, the whole plan, but we finally got to hear why they're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it's dumb, right? Their whole reasons for doing it, it's stupid. Okay. If your models are telling you that these communities are going to drain your resources, first of all, your models are wrong. Hello? Where is Omaha?
In Nebraska.
What's in Nebraska? Corn,
lots
wheat,
of flat places,
lots of cows. Okay. So don't tell me that they can't be self-sustaining. If anything, Nebraska should be sustaining CR, the CR, not the other way around. That's the what do they call it? The America's breadbasket or something like that. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I might be wrong on that, but the point being is that, Omaha is right across the river from Iowa. And of course there's Iowa, there's Kansas. It's all farm country all around there. So, and guess what? Where's the campus colony? Well, it's in Nebraska too. Well, maybe there's I don't know, lots and lots and lots of books about agriculture. Okay, so if there are people at the stinking university that don't know a damn thing about agriculture and they need to to start sustaining themselves, well, wouldn't you think they'd start opening up the books and learning how to farm? I'm sorry, but that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Okay.
Well, even if you're gonna take her theory into account and saying, well, there's too much of a drain on resources. Well, guess what? There are ways around that.
Well, that's my point.
I know we've said this. You've said it. I've said it. Live human beings are a resource.
Exactly. And the point that I'm making with that comment is if the Omaha and the campus colony are draining their resource, if they're looking at being that they're going to cause a famine because of that, you know what you do? You flip the script. You take those 100,000 people and you teach them skills to be able to sustain themselves.
Well, I'd go one better than that. Just take 50% of them and play Oregon Trail. Put them on a bus, put them on a wagon, send them somewhere else and say, okay, guys, guess what? This is your chance to build a new campus colony. This is your chance to build a new city.
Right.
Relocate them somewhere else. You've lowered the population density where and these pioneer guys, you can say, okay, we're not going to be able to support you because we won't, we'll give you the best we can, but this is your opportunity to forge your own way.
Yeah. And the question I would ask is, why is it going to drain their resources? Is it because all those trips going back and forth to Portland and Omaha, draining, say, their fuel, right? Well, guess what? Don't go. Keep your communication via, simple like telegraph or, smoke signal or whatever, figure out another way of keeping in contact and just, go about and keep your colony separate. And, it's just so goddamn stupid of them.
How about the logical thing for me? Use the freaking railroad.
Right. So I want to just get this. This is my frustration, and this is not with the story. Okay. This is a frustration in organizations and government and groupthink and all this kind of stuff that just drives me crazy. When I see these things all the time when an organization or like a group of people get all thinking the same way and they can't break out of that thought process. They can't accept that there's another solution to the problem. And that's very, very dangerous. If Omaha and the campus colony and Portland were draining their resources, if you couldn't do anything else, just cut them loose, and just say, you're on your own. You don't need to kill them. Just say, we can't help you anymore. I mean, otherwise it's just so stupid. I don't understand. I mean, thankfully they grabbed all the kids, which makes me wonder, where are all the kids? Well, then again, we don't actually see where, the capital of the Civic Republic is, but
right.
It just, I can't believe how stupid the people in charge would be for just believing that that's the solution. It's insane. The solution is not kill 100,000 people and then go to Portland and do it again. No, it's like, okay, well, what do we do to make sure that they're not a drain of our resources, that we don't have a famine? It just, again, it makes no sense. And I'm not saying that this is a problem with the writing. This is a problem with groupthink and just people being stupid and not understanding that every problem has a solution. No matter how difficult the solution might be, there is a solution. So,
Yeah.
except for maybe COVID. No, I'm perfect timing, LT. Anyway, no, there is a solution to COVID, and you know, and we say this just as this new variant is starting to show up. They think that the Omicron variant has already come to Florida. So I read that today, just prior to us starting. So anyway, it's just the frustration that I have in just this kind of mindset thinking. So it's just, terrible.
Yeah.
Have we ever talked about the actress Annette Mahendru and the way she delivers the way she acts? She's got this like weird thing she does it's like when she's saying her lines, she's like constantly moving. Have you ever noticed this?
Yeah.
So, and you guys won't see this you won't see this because this is just between LT and me on Zoom, but I'll kind of imitate her. Well, Jadis, they're scientists.
What you're not seeing is as Brian is talking, his head is moving slightly to the left and to the right.
Head and body. Like, and that's what she does. Like she kind of like, moves around and jerks around and,
she wiggles a lot.
Yeah. It's sometimes it's appropriate. And then other times it's distracting. And there were times when I found it was appropriate and times I found it distracting this week.
Well, the only complaint that I have about her is that the small furtive movements didn't bother me as much as the fact that I was going to say pick a lane and stay in one. Is that 1 minute she sounds very Southern and then some minutes she doesn't, and then some minutes she sounds more what I would consider Middle Eastern Mediterranean. It's kind of a little more English, and then it swerves back into the Southern lane. And I'm like, I don't care which one you pick, just pick one.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, she has an odd way of delivering her lines that it's effective, I would say, largely, but it's also somewhat distracting at times. So that would be the one thing I would say. And I thought that this was a good reunion of the kids.
Yeah.
The kids are back.
Yep.
So, but it was good to see all four of them finally. I liked seeing Hope kind of being talked out of killing Mason by Iris.
Mm-hmm.
That was interesting. Obviously, we had earlier in the season, Iris killed one of the CRM soldiers, and I don't think Hope knows about that. So, and I don't think another thing that I don't think Hope was still fully realizing how bad of a place that the place is, and I think maybe seeing Dr. Sandwich as an ice cream sandwich helped that kind of solidify that even more.
Yeah. And how about the turnaround? Because wasn't it only just a few weeks ago that Iris was the one that's like, this place needs to burn. They all need to die.
Yeah.
And now she's the one going, let's not act too hasty now here, Hope. Let's not do anything rash.
The question I would have is, do you think next week that Mason is going to finally realize that his father is, crazy man, or is he
quite possible,
or is it or has he just drank too much of the Kool-Aid and there's no turning back for him, and he'll end up being the next Major General Beale?
I think he may still be redeemable, but I kind of am still leaning towards he's already supped from the great cup of Kool-Aid.
Mm-hmm. A couple things that I don't think we've talked about that I'm just thinking about the episode, they're coming to mind now. The scene with Corduroy Boy and what's his name? I never forget never remember his name.
Silas.
Yeah, I should remember that because I hated the book Silas Marner. Anyway, so Silas and not Felix,
Dennis?
Elton. Yeah. And in the going back to get the antibiotics, that was interesting. Of course, we have to talk about the globe. That was kind of funny and kind of whimsical, I guess, but also strangely effective and cool.
Yeah. Well, it made me think about I'm trying to think of the name of the show, but it's one of those.
It was a Z Nation kind of thing, I thought.
No. It was like one of those Japanese game shows.
Oh, okay.
Like extreme, most extreme wipeout challenge or whatever. Or one of the shows where they put the guy on the ball and they roll him downhill, or you see the guy in a tire doing that. I was just thinking, okay, so they're going downhill and they're kind of picking up speed and they're trying to crush the walkers. Wouldn't at some point the velocity become great enough that the centrifugal force would pin them to the outside and they would go careening madly down the hill? Anyway, I thought, of all things, it was just, how are we going to get out of here? And you see the little light bulb, ding. I have an idea.
Yeah. I liked that Silas went to get the antibiotics, and he kind of wanted to save the
kid.
Yeah. And then of course the Webb, I guess is his name, the cadet, but had the unfortunate, I thought that was good too. We haven't had one of those in a long time. The off camera, most certain death.
Yes. The sound of walkers. Bang, 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 bang. Click.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have to do the knowing look to each other because we know just what happened.
Yeah.
To the person that's just out of visual range.
He got a most certain death.
It's true.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, we did get some feedback from others, listeners. This week. In fact, we have a second voicemail, which I didn't really hint at, but we have a second voicemail from Megan, and I'm going to play that now.
Hi guys, this is Megan Lehman with some feedback on the wrapping up of the kids show, as you guys would say. I thought World Beyond in the end was pretty good. I'm glad I watched it. I feel like it did end up being better than Fear by the end of the season. So that's something I'm surprised to say, as much as I used to love Fear. One thing I wanted to mention when, this ongoing discussion about what A's and B's are, and also the fact that Jadis is back now, and has featured so prominently in these last couple episodes and looks to be set up to figure largely in whatever's happening moving forward. I was lucky enough to meet Pollyanna McIntosh at one of the conventions a couple years ago. And first of all, she's absolutely beautiful in real life with her normal hair and clothing, and super warm and friendly person. And my friend and I chatted with her for a little while. And I actually had little signs made up that said A and B. And when we got up there, we asked her to classify us as A or B, thinking, maybe we'll get a clue into what the A and the B means. This was in, I think, 2018 or 2019. So she looked at us and she laughed and she said, well, I can say definitively without any hesitation, you are both Bs. And I was a little shocked by that. And I said, okay, well, is one of us a little more of an A? And she looked at us and she said to my friend, you're a little more of an A. And so we took a picture with the A and the B signs with Pollyanna McIntosh, who plays Jadis. And I'm thinking now, if B means before being bitten and A means after being bitten, my friend was pregnant at the time. So maybe she thought she was closer to death because she had a parasitic child growing inside of her. I don't know. But I just wanted to share that fun little story and say that I'm glad we've got Jadis as a large figure. She's so much less annoying and I think a better character now than when she was on the main show. And the actress is just knocking it out of the ballpark. So maybe we'll see her more on the main show, or she's going to be on the Rick Grimes movies. We don't really know yet. Also interested in whatever the heck that was in the post-credit scene with the lab. Looking to hear your thoughts on more of that. I don't know. They're going new places. It's really interesting. I felt like some COVID vibes with the researchers, and that was the zombie virus created in a lab, all that stuff that they're hinting at. So looking forward to hearing your thoughts on that, and hope you all are doing well. Bye.
Well, thank you so much, Megan, for your voicemail, and good to hear from you. And she was having trouble sending in the voicemail yesterday, so I talked to her briefly. I actually had to play this on my instant messenger, not my soundboard, but it's on the same tablet, so played anyway. Yeah,
see, we want your voicemails. We'll figure out a way to play them.
Yeah, any way we can. So, yeah, and for that matter, if you can't send it any other way, if you have me on your instant messenger, send it to me that way. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, send it to me that way. I'll play it any way I can. So yeah, it was good to hear your talk about Pollyanna McIntosh. Obviously, we agree with what your comments are. I think that she has been fantastic, and I would also agree her character has been much better in this show than on The Walking Dead. And she basically, like, she was villainous, but so weird on the main show that it was really difficult sometimes to take her seriously. And in this show, she's just, bad guy, so.
And she rocks a bad guy.
Yeah. And I've never met her in person. Did I meet her in person? I'm trying to think if she was at Walker Stalker Orlando that time. I don't think she was there. I know I certainly didn't go up to her booth. So I don't know. But I will say, I have seen her, like, pictures of her, not in, makeup, not in, like, regular. And yes, she's absolutely gorgeous. So, I like the little, con appearance, story you told, and Parasite. That almost sounds like, something Kyle would say.
It's true.
Yeah. Okay, so there was a post-credit scene. This is news to me. I don't think, because I watched it on AMC Plus, and I'm going to have to go back, but I don't remember seeing a post-credit scene. Did they play it only on the network?
I think I missed it.
Yeah. So I don't know. Unless she's talking about something that was on Talking Dead. And if that's the case, I missed that as well, because
they had a preview for next week with her in Talking Dead.
Well, maybe it was that she's talking about. I don't know, but anyway, wow. I didn't see a post-credit scene. I'm going to go back and look to see if I can find one. I can look at the Spectrum app and look at on demand, although that will take a considerable amount of time because you can't skip. So,
right.
I'd have to let the whole thing play and make sure I catch it right at the end. But I'll check AMC Plus and see if there's something there, but I don't remember seeing anything. And the last time I checked, they still didn't have the episode of Talking Dead on AMC Plus, but I believe I can get that on demand on Spectrum. So, I only saw part of that episode. I didn't see the whole thing. All right. So we've got some feedback from Deanna. You want to read that?
Okay. Deanna says, I'm behind on this show, but decided to jump back in and watch. And boy, did I pick the right episode. Bombs exploding, sending the New York camp up on shambles, all to stop the annihilation of Portland. Still waiting for the connections to the other shows. So did anybody else get Jurassic Park vibes when Silas and Elton mowed down the walkers inside the giant globe? They had a scene when the kids were stuck in the rolling sphere in the park. I don't know. I just thought it was similar and funny.
Is that what you were thinking of before?
No, I'm still, like I said, I'll agree with her for the rolly ball thing from the Jurassic Park movie, but no, I'm still thinking Japanese game show.
Okay.
Well, Deanna goes on to say, Percy dies for real this time, which is thought he was still a ghost until recently when I saw someone else acknowledged him besides Elton. And she says, yeah, I missed a lot. It has several laughing faces.
Yeah.
She says, okay, Huck comes over to the bad side, saving the girls and Felix so they could get away, leaving Jadis and the Mason to fend for themselves against the dead. And she ends up saying, overall, an okay episode.
Yeah. All right. And our last bit of feedback is from Glynis from Toronto. She says, 9 out of 10, Huck. Another good episode and another clever plan to have some hang back and plant the explosives. Huck was instrumental here in turning the tables in favor of the group, who looked in a precarious position when they were in standoff by the Hummers and Jeeps. Although Huck wouldn't have killed Jadis, and it's not because she's soft, but plot armor, as Janice has to be preserved for the TWD movies, right? Is that supposed to be Jadis? I guess that's probably supposed to be Jadis. You sort of knew Percy's time was up when he told Iris what their future would look like. Yes. In fact, on the second time I watched it, I thought of that very trope that we saw actually on Star Trek Discovery on the first episode this season, where the commander says, "Oh, what are you doing when we're all done this? Oh, I'm going to go back home." It's that old trope of when I get out of here, I'm going to go marry my girlfriend. She's waiting for me at home. And so, don't make plans in the apocalypse. It's just not a good idea. Just don't make plans with your girlfriend. You're not going to see to live them. I expect Silas can be a stand-in shoulder to cry on. Yeah, I kind of saw that too. So Huck has found the chemicals earmarked for Portland, but why was she crying and cradling her ring? Has Dennis died off screen? That'll be a pity, since Silas and Elton have managed to bring the meds required after their hilarious artistic giant killing empties bowling ball that rolled down the hill. I think Elton has some good meds too for Indira and her kidney ailment, which will score points in Asha's eyes. I fully expect Asha to go with them to Portland to raise the alarm. Huck will have her hands full trying to thwart Jadis. I see talking. Okay, so this is a potential spoiler. People who don't like to know about things that are, mentioned, but this was mentioned on Talking Dead. I see.
Avert your ears.
Yes. So here we go. I see Talking Dead next week has a surprise guest. I'm starting the mantra now. Andrew Lincoln, Andrew Lincoln, Andrew Lincoln, Andrew Lincoln, Andrew Lincoln, Andrew Lincoln, Andrew Lincoln. I really hope so too. I'll just say that right now. I'm hoping it's Andrew Lincoln, because where have you been, Andrew Lincoln? And you are exactly what the universe needs right now, is Andrew Lincoln.
Yep.
Gone far too long, my friend. His name has been removed from IMDb's next week's episode, The Last Light, but I'm still hopeful he'll make an appearance in the finale episode of The Walking Dead, World Beyond. In the meantime, I'll try and not get spoiled by having these episodes already screened and out on AMC Plus. Yeah, I mean, that is a possibility. It may be revealed on there, but it could also be, an announcement. We don't know what it's going to be.
They said it's going to be a surprise guest,
right? And it could also be they finally reveal who Major General Beale is, and maybe Major General Beale will be
Michael Rooker.
No, I don't think so. But it could be, a big actor that will be a part of the movie, right? So
yeah.
So the movie will, finally have Major General Beale. But, I don't know. I mean, there's no way to know. So it's either that, or it's either Major General Beale, Andrew Lincoln, Denai Guerrera, announcing that she's coming back for, season 11 or something. Or it's the one thing I thought of, and this would be a big disappointment for everyone. It would be finally they say, oh, that sub thing we said was coming, here it is. Or maybe it's going to be an announcement about the Tales of the Walking Dead, or something like that. Those two things would be, just a letdown. Those are not big enough to me. So
our surprise guest, Robert Kirkman, the founder, the creator of the Walking Dead universe.
Yes. Yeah. I too am hoping it's going to be Andrew Lincoln, but I don't know. And I haven't gone forward and watched because I'm way behind this week, and I'm still editing Discovery. So, yeah.
Well, and I am on the fence, dear listeners. I am on the fence because someone at work was talking about it, and they were trying not to spoil me after I screamed at them in a very loud drill sergeant-y voice that I did not want to be spoiled. And so now I don't know if he's messing with me or not. So we will see what happens.
Well, you can always get a 7-day trial,
It's true.
Well, and the thing is, I don't know if they still have it, but they had a Black Friday sale where it was, I think it was either 99 cents or $1.99. So the sale might still be on. I don't know. When, like for example, Hulu this week had a sale for 99 cents a month for 12 months. And I have Hulu already, but I signed up again because I'm simply going to, and the payment just came out, but I'm like, okay, I will cancel the membership that's on this email address and I'll keep going the one that's 99 cents. So even though the payment just came out, I'm still, going to be up. So that's what I'm doing. So you can do the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. I in fact, I've signed up to, I signed up for AMC Plus like 3 or 4 different ways before I finally signed up directly, and got it the way that I got it, because I got it on a deal as well, where it paid a whole year, and got it for like 50% off or something like that. I didn't get the Black Friday deal, but I got another deal. Anyway, so that's it for this episode. So let's move on and get on to ratings and info. And I'm going to play the proper music for this.
What the hell is happening?
I have no idea.
Okay, so ratings are in for Fear the Walking Dead, and they are up this week.
Yay!
The Walking Dead got a 0.18 in the 18 to 49 with 940,000 viewers. So it's getting close to 1 million again. Maybe it'll get over 1 million for the mid-season finale. We'll see. And in the 25 to 54, it got a 0.28, same as last week. And in the 50 and over, it got a 0.59, which is up from last week, 0.56. Last week, I didn't say, last week it got a 0.016 in the 18 to 49 and 880,000 viewers. So it was up 60,000 viewers from last week.
It's a good jump.
Yeah, it's good. The World Beyond was also up this week. It got a 0.11 in the 18 to 49 with 539,000 viewers. It actually did make the top 50 this week, because the last several weeks it hadn't. But this week I think it got to number 40 or 41 for Sunday. It got 0.16 in the 25 to 54 and a 0.33 in the 50 and over. And that is compared to last week, where it got a 0.08 in the 18 to 49 and only a minor 12,000 viewers up from last week, where it got 527,000. So it's up more in the demographic than it is on the total number of viewers. But last week it didn't finish in the top 50, so I don't have those other demographics, but this time it finished in the top 50, so I did have those graphics. So, and if you weren't aware, there was a Talking Dead this week, which is the first time we've had one since the season premiere of Fear and World Beyond. It got a 0.04 in the 18 to 49 with 211,000 viewers. So,
wow.
In the Parrot Analytics this week, The Walking Dead stayed at the number 10 position. It rated at 38.8 the times the demand of an average show versus 37.2 times the average show from last week. So number 1, of course, SpongeBob with 74 times. And it's actually up from last week's 69.1 times. So,
wow.
But
it looks like a very strong showing from Wheel of Time.
Yeah, the Wheel of Time is doing fairly well. It just came out recently, so it's doing well in the demand. And the the number one digital is a show called Arcane. That is in the number 3 position overall, but number 1 in the digitals. And speaking of digitals, Star Trek Discovery is also there for those of you that listen to us on Discovery. It entered the digital top 10 on its first week at number 9 with 25.1. And now it's at number 8 with 26.9 times. So it went higher. And of course, those weeks, there were some announcements there where they made it so they announced that it wasn't going to be available on Netflix in international markets. And then the week after that, they said, no, well, it's going to be available on Paramount Plus and available on Pluto TV elsewhere. And if you don't have either of those two, you'll be able to buy it. So anyway, so they saved face a little bit, but still, it's been kind of rough for them. But the first 2 episodes have been out, and so far, so good. So,
yep.
All right. So that's it for our news this week and basically our podcast. So we're just winding it down. LT, why don't you take over and give my vocal cords a rest and tell people how to contact us?
We want to encourage you to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. That's at Walking Dead TTM. To submit your theories and feedback, most people post in our designated episode thread in our Facebook group. That's facebook.com/group/WalkingDeadTTM. You can send us email. That's at walkingdead@talkthroughmedia.com. You can utilize our feedback form. That's on our webpage at talkthroughmedia.com/feedback. If you'd like to send us voicemail, you can call area code 216-232-6146. Just remember that voicemails sent in there are capped at 3 minutes. All of our new episodes are on YouTube. Just search for Talk Through Media and remember to subscribe and click that bell to get notified when we have new videos. Those videos go out first before the podcast does. We'd like for you to like and review the Talk Through Media Facebook page at facebook.com/talkthroughmedia. The best way that you can support us is through our Patreon. That's www.patreon.com/walkingdeadtalkthrough. Just remember that our Patreon supporters will get an early version of this episode this week. You can subscribe to us in Apple Podcasts or the podcast client of your choice. While you're there, leave us a rating or a review. You can also leave us a review at podchaser.com. You can rate individual episodes or the whole podcast. You'll find a link to Podchaser on each episode post. Remember to share our posts on Facebook and Twitter when we post them, or tell a friend. Word of mouth is the best way to get us new listeners. So, Brian, where else can you be listened at?
Well, before we say that, we should mention that you can be heard somewhere very soon.
Yes. I had the opportunity to be on the Computer Resume podcast. We don't have a release date of when that episode will be coming out, but I got to talk about Star Trek Enterprise with the host, Todd Davis, and we had a good time. I've enjoyed listening to his podcast, and it was a pleasure and a treat for me to actually go somewhere else and talk about Star Trek with somebody I've never talked about Star Trek with before. So
yeah, it's always good to do that. I mean, I've had the chance to go on a couple other podcasts, and it's always fun. Especially you get to see how other people do things, and it's always good to get the creative juices flowing a little bit by interacting with other people. Yep. So yeah, that's good. So hopefully it'll be out next couple of weeks or something.
I don't know how. I think he's got about a month lead time, but he told me when he would get it out. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, at some point we will be able to hear that. And Of course, worth saying that Ruthie and I are covering Star Trek Discovery. I already kind of hinted at that. And the first 2 episodes have released. The first episode of, at the time that we're recording this on Wednesday, the first episode for season 4 has been released. The second one has been released, but only to Patreon subscribers, much like we do for this podcast. Unfortunately, I have not been able to finish the regular version of it. That's what I was going to do tonight. So that was part of, I had to do substitute duty tonight. That's why I feel like I'm a little off. So, but anyway, hopefully everything goes well for Kyle and his family. And I hope that, say a prayer for him. So for them. But anyway, so we're releasing the Star Trek Discovery podcast, and we'll be doing that throughout the season. And you can, of course, get those on talkthermedia.com. The Facebook group for that is facebook.com/groups/Star Trek TTM podcasts with an S. And the Patreon for that is at patreon.com/Brian and Ruthie. So pretty much the same as this one, at least $1 a month, and gets you the early access episodes. So, and also don't forget about the Rebinge DS9 podcast and the Star Trek Prodigy podcast by Rebinge It that Kim and James do. Their Star Trek Prodigy is on hiatus now until January. So, but they released that Star Trek Prodigy is going to be available on Nickelodeon starting December 17th. So you won't even have to have a Paramount Plus subscription. So, but anyway, they'll be covering that, and there'll be episodes will be running kind of simultaneous to ours. So anyway, that's it. And for the next episodes, we have Fear the Walking Dead Season 7, Episode 8 is titled Padre. It's written by the showrunners Andrew Chambliss and Ian Goldberg and directed by Michael E. Satrazemis. The description from Google says, Alicia enlists Morgan's help to search for a new home for her people. But Morgan soon learns the search is more complicated than he imagined. And the last episode, the final season finale or series finale of World Beyond is also next week. That is Season 2, Episode 10, titled The Last Light. It is written by Matthew Negretti, Maya Goldsmith, and Carson Moore, and is directed by Lauren Iaconelli. And the description from google.com is the remaining members of the group fight back enemies, both living and dead, on their quest to save the future. So until next time, I'm Brian.
And I'm LT.
And this is Fear the Walking Dead Talk Through. Good night, everybody.
Good night.